Welcome to LATV and Neighborhood Snapshot. My name is Bob Sadelli. I am a member of the Leominster Historical Commission. Today we are pleased to welcome someone very familiar to many of the LATV viewing audience, Mr. G. Vern Brito. Many of you will remember Vern, are familiar with Vern from his years on the City Council, his years on the Recreation Commission and Little League, and serving Leominster in a number of capacities very, very faithfully. So Vern will be familiar to many, many of you. So welcome, Vern.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. We're going to start right at the beginning. And I know you were a New Year's baby, or very close to New Year's. When were you born? And tell us something about that.
I was born January 3rd, 1932, 7 minutes after midnight. And I was the first baby born in Leominster that year. And my mother got all the gifts and prizes. She got a carriage from Whitney Carriage. She got milk from a different milkman. And things like that, different, you know, anything that could help. So I was her lucky child, she said.
You were her lucky child. And there were many children in the family.
Oh yeah.
How many children?
Well, we were 6 girls and 5 boys.
6 girls,
we had
5
one
boys.
brother stillborn, so they had 12 children in all. So.
What were your mom and dad's names?
Well, my mother was Ella Alberts Brito, and she came from Caracat, New Brunswick. My father came from Tracadie, or Saint-Isidore, to be exact, in Canada, and they both moved down here separately. My father went to work in Gardner because his brothers were up in Gardner, and they worked as carpenters. And then there was my mother, she came to Leominster, and she went to work for Foster Grants. And the old Foster Grants building on Lancaster Street, which is now Billy Donato's hardware store. And that used to be part of Foster Grants.
And that's right at the corner of Lancaster and Johnson Street.
Johnson Street.
And that's where Foster Grant was.
That was their original building when they started. I forget what they made, but I know my mother said, I think they were making combs and stuff like that, you know, but no, it's been 60, 75 years almost since I took.
So you out in the vestibule out there, the anteroom, we were talking a little bit, and you said your dad was a contractor.
Right.
And you said, well, I asked you about your mom. Well, she didn't, I think you said something like, she didn't work, but she did. She worked there, but then she worked a lot, being
after
a
having
housewife and a homemaker with 12 children, so that was a lot of work.
She made her homemade bread. She got up to make our breakfasts. Had a meal every meal there was, we had them. Yeah. And they were all on time.
All on time.
Yeah. I cooked a peck of potatoes a day, you know, for one meal.
I'll bet all the kids had chores too, you know.
Oh yeah, we all had duties. You know, we did things that you didn't have to do. I mean, but we did them anyway to help the parents because, you know, we're such a big family and, you know, a big house, and somebody had to do some of the work. My mother couldn't do it all.
No, and it had to be organized.
Yeah, and my father, of course, he worked, and when he come home from work, he went to work in his garage making cabinets for other contractors that wanted cabinets to be made. So that's what he did on the side. So he was always tired, and they were in bed by 9 o'clock in the night, and there was no TV in my house until I think 1950.
And that's another thing, like the conveniences. What was it like? No TV until 1950 in your house, but radio, there must have been.
Oh yeah, there were radios. We used to listen to the radios on fights, Friday night fights on TV, on the radio, but I think we had a lot of things that we could do ourselves. I mean, I remember the bottom of Johnson Street when there was no houses there. It was just a field. And of course, first base was probably 5 feet lower than the third base.
And in those days, Johnson Street didn't go all the way through.
No, it was a dirt. No, that was just a field.
Yeah, it was a field there.
I'm talking between Viscaloid and Mechanic Street.
And it wasn't lonely in your neighborhood. We were saying out there. Tell us something about that. Yeah, you came from a very large family, but there were a lot of kids to play with.
Oh yeah, the Vazinas were across the street.
And
the Brousseaus, the Rushlows,
and were those big families?
Oh yeah, Dufresne's was 17, and I think Rushlows were about 7. You know, the Pottiers were a good 8 or 9. And, you know, they were all big families in those days, so we always found something to do, play games of some kind.
There was always.
Oh yeah.
And you had mentioned out in the anteroom there that the road was a dirt road.
Oh yeah. Well, after the cars rode on it, it would pack the snow down because they never sent a plow around there. And we used to wet it and play hockey on the street.
So
skate
on the dirt road in the wintertime, they didn't plow it.
Right.
You know, so
we wouldn't know what a plow was.
We didn't know what a plow was. So the cars would pack the snow down, and then
we'd wet them, and
at night you'd
wet it down with a hose. Yeah.
To pack it down so you'd have a hockey rink out in the street.
Yeah, and you had you you made your sideboards.
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw a car come through once a week, that was lucky, you know.
What about, you'd mentioned the TV came in eventually, but other things like, did the family gather around?
Oh yeah, we have today, even today, we have the Brito reunion, our family. In fact, this year we just had a Christmas together. We did it the old-fashioned way when we used to go to my mother's house. And we all used to go to our mother's house, and we'd bring our kids there the night before Christmas in their pajamas.
Yeah.
So we reenacted that, and we had all our children wear pajamas, and we did the same thing as we always did. My brother Bob would play the piano, and we'd sit there and sing Christmas carols. We had a hell of a time. You know.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah, my mother used to make poutines.
Yeah,
I
think I had one once up in Canada.
Oh yeah, well
they were good. Those are the poutines.
Yeah, I used to call them bocce balls.
Yeah,
because they're about the size of a ball.
Cannonballs. Was that something you used to call them cannonballs to me? Yeah, and they were what are they? What's a poutine?
Grated potatoes with cooked potatoes and pork and hamburger in the center, and boiled.
Yeah.
Not fried. Then the rape was the same things, but only baked, you know.
Baked.
And that was, a lot of people liked that better than they did the poutine.
Yeah, I think I had, years ago I used to go fishing up in Canada with some school friends of mine. And I think Tracadie or somewhere in New Brunswick, I had a poutine on the beach there or something. With
I know, if you went fishing up in Canada, did you try the Miramichi?
The big river.
Yeah.
We used to go on some of the smaller streams, but we used to go up through there. And,
well, I've been fishing for salmon on that.
Yeah, that
river.
was.
And we were still another 60 miles northwest. So when we went up, and of course, come to find out, the Tracadie River was more salmon than the Miramichi, because salmon, everybody knew the Miramichi because it was being fished by big sportsman. Ted Williams used to go there.
Yeah.
He had a chalet there, and of course the Tracadie River was 50 miles up the road. We used to get the same salmon. And I brought one back one time, 10.5 pounds.
Wow.
And Joe Dislett, the state trooper, his father was a barber on 3rd Street. And, you know, I like to talk about 3rd Street. And, you know, at one time people said to me, when I first got on the council, somebody asked me, what are you going to do about the ghettos in Leominster? And I don't think people know what ghettos mean. And, you know, and I looked at French Hill after that, and I looked at 3rd Street, and I remember 3rd Street as a kid before the fire of Garpy Furniture. 3rd Street was like downtown. And downtown was a greater, I mean, it was a thrill to go to downtown, and when I was a kid, because we never went past 3rd Street.
No,
and the only time that we went downtown is Brockman's Market during the war, when we had chips, not ticks.
Fish and chips?
No, they had a coupon that you had to
Okay.
you could get so much meat.
Yeah.
Or
Is
you
this
could get so much butter.
The rationing?
The rationing of the food during the war. And I used to go to Brockman's Market, and I'd look at the meat, and I'd say, this is the piece I want. And the guy looked at me, I don't know, you got enough coupons? I say, oh yeah.
Those,
we had a big family, we had a lot of coupons.
Yeah, because during World War II, they had the rationing of the gas, the sugar, the food,
all that stuff. Yeah.
for the war.
Butter, everything.
So you went through that.
Oh yeah, I went to Kennedy's store many a times.
Kennedy,
in fact,
butter and eggs and all the.
In fact, Kennedy was the manager of it was Ralph Crossman. He became mayor of the city. So
long-time mayor.
yeah. So he was a good man.
Yes, he certainly was.
I enjoyed. I was on the council with him, and he was a very good man.
Yes.
And I was on. In fact, he appointed me on the Recreation Commission.
Tell us something about you out in the ante room. You got into recreation. You were in the Navy. Tell us, and then we can lead into that. You got out of the Navy, and the day you got out of the Navy.
Oh
tell
yeah,
us that.
I got out of the Navy, and I'm carrying my duffel bag down on 8th Street where Freddie Brito lived. We're going by in his yard.
Is he a cousin or?
He's a first cousin of mine, and he said to me, he says, "Hey, what are you doing tonight, Vern?" He says, I said, "I don't know yet." I said, "I'm just getting home." He said, "Why don't you come down to 12th Street?" He says, "There's a baseball field there." And I says, "Okay," and I stayed there. I got involved. He asked me to umpire. I said, "Geez," I said, "I don't know. I haven't umpired." I said, "I know a little bit about it." So they gave me a little practice, about 5 minutes, and then I was out there umpiring, and I stayed there about, I'd say close to 47 years of involved into American Little League.
In the Little League, and
I had ice hockey, the Leominster High Hockey Independent team for about 10 years. I also did CYC basketball coaching them.
And you're a recreation commissioner.
And the recreation, that's why I got on the recreation commission, because I had done so many things with kids, so they involved me, and that's why I think they asked me to be on it, and I thought it was an honor. I was the chairman there for a while, and in fact, we finally got one thing passed through the school system, was that the kids should be able to use the gyms that the city had owned, and why should we have to pay? You know, because our families are all taxpayers,
right?
So why should we have to pay? So finally, they let us have it. The school committee finally let us have it. Yeah. So I feel that's one great achievement I had.
And it is a great achievement.
Because it's quite a sport today indoors. So.
And that makes me think of so many of the things that in the present right now we think of, you know, we just take for granted, like something that the kids being able to use the city facilities and the gyms. Well, people should realize, and a lot of that there was a lot of groundwork that had to be done through the years.
Definitely.
To accomplish these things. So
yeah.
Things take time, and things do progress. And you were on the city council for a number of years.
Yes.
12 years?
12 years. I was on for a 3-year term, 3 terms, and then 2 terms.
2 terms.
No, 3 terms each time.
Yeah.
And I just feel that, you know, I heard one gentleman over here, he said something, he says, the parents did everything for their kids. And it's true. I mean, I was a parent. My son went through Little League baseball, and I think he got out in '62. But I was still there, working there, and I enjoyed it. I built 3 fields. We got them all fenced in. I went to Washington. I found out that how we could get lights for the field through federal funds. And when Mayor Harper was there, I got him to sign the papers to put on the lights at 12th Street Field. Yeah. And I put up the buildings that are there. They've now the concession stand, there's a bathroom, and there's a new building they put up. They've still got the old bathroom up. But it's got all electrical scoreboards today. And I mean, a lot of that was bull work.
That's right.
That I raked and hand raked those fields many a times.
I'm going to put this picture up because you had mentioned, we had talked about how you and the kids used to hose down the dirt road in front of your house and make a hockey rink. Play hockey. This is a picture. This picture is from, I got this picture at the Historical Commission. It's from Arthur Bedoyne's collection. I don't know whether Mr. Bedoyne took this picture, but it's in one of the albums it's in an album that he was donated to the commission. And this is, some people will recognize this. This is at the corner, this is Whitney Pond, not to be confused with Whitney Lake, which is now Lake Samoset.
Yeah.
This is Whitney Pond, and it was at the corner of Whitney and Water Street.
Right.
And the viewers can see.
The picture makes it look a lot bigger than what it was. I mean, it was a small pond. It wasn't a real big pond. And we used to skate on it, and I might have been on in that picture there. I don't know. I mean, I skated there many times. We tried to play hockey on it, but the officials wouldn't let us because it wasn't big enough. And let free skaters, at night they even guy used to bring their cars and put the lights on.
And that's how
so we could skate at night.
And so for people, you won't see this at the corner of Whitney and...
Oh, no, it's a parking lot.
It's a parking lot now.
Yeah.
And I think this,
that building is still there.
Still there. I think this is Summer Street up here.
That's Whitney Street. Laurel Street's on top.
Laurel Street's on top.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to take another view of this same area. Now this is from a postcard from Mr. Emilio Martini's collection. And before I hold it steady, it says Leominster, Mass. Wachusett Shirt Company. And this is the same Whitney Pond.
Yeah.
And Vern, this would be the Wachusett Shirt Company.
And that was part of the Wachusett Shirt Company. They built a tunnel across the street.
A walkway.
A walkway.
Yeah, that walkway is still there. Right now there are apartments.
Right, but this ended up being Star Manufacturing.
Over here.
Over here, yeah.
And then, let me see, I don't know if I'm going in the right direction, but Whitney Carriage
was behind. This is part of it right here.
Okay.
By your tree. That's where the Whitney Carriage was there.
And now the place that used to be, I remember it was Rockdale's?
Rockdale store, yeah.
Rockdale's, and now it's Whitney Carriage Park. It's
all apartments.
Yeah.
That water is all parking lot for them.
All parking lot now. All parking lot now. And this bridge...
it's no longer there.
There is a bridge, but it was replaced.
Yeah. I think 1967.
And you were on the council when that bridge was finally replaced.
Yeah.
Vern, just talking again about your neighborhood now with 12 kids, how did the family, and it was so typical of many families, did you have a garden? Did you...
Oh, yeah.
Tell us something about that.
We had gardens and chickens.
Gardens and chickens. And
Friday night was the night we'd kill chickens for most of the people around French Hill that wanted chickens.
So you actually raised chickens and sold
oh, yeah. We raised them, and then we had the eggs from them.
Yeah.
We lived off the farm, like a farm. We didn't have no cows or anything, but we had... we had our food. My mother would buy potatoes by the 100 pounds, and especially when she had got a deal. In fact, one time she bought 1,500 pounds, and it was gone by spring.
Wow.
So we ate a lot of potatoes. My mother did a lot of things with potatoes, and we had a lot of meat. She wasn't afraid to give us fish.
Yeah.
She used to get that salt herring from Canada. I still can't eat it today.
Now, was there a local neighborhood little store?
Oh, yeah.
No supermarkets then?
Oh, no. Well, we used to go to I.J. Benoit, and she'd charge us. We charge
him. Yeah.
And I think my mother paid him almost to the time he got out of business. Finally paid up her bill.
Yeah.
It was so much a week. And
where was I.G.A. Benoit? Where?
It was on the corner of 7th and Mechanic.
7th and Mechanic Street.
Yeah. There was quite a few. And of course, she deal with Cini's drugstore.
Where was that?
That was at the corner of 4th and Mechanic.
And you had mentioned how you did, once in a while you'd go downtown for Brockelmans and things.
Yeah.
But French Hill had everything, as many neighborhoods, everything that people really needed.
If you wanted to go like to First National, was at the corner of Spruce and Water. I mean, there were other things. There were clothing stores. There was Nimes. There was Garapi's Furniture. In fact, 1938 is when they had a big fire on Garapi. And your barber shops, it was Mr. Dizzlet and Mr. Rogers. And you had your Gears Pharmacy, and the other one on Thursday, you had your Gears, and then next to across the street from school was, I can't think of the name of it, but it was another drugstore.
It was pretty much a self-contained neighborhood, and in a previous interview with, I remember Gil Tremblay, you probably know Gil.
Oh, Gil and I graduated from St. Cecilia's together.
And Gil said that pretty much the only reason people went downtown would be to go for banking and for maybe to the movies.
Yeah.
You know, because you had everything in the neighborhood.
Yeah, we did. I mean, everybody walked. Nobody, how many people, my father had an old beat up, well, he had a, not beat up. In fact, in 1949, he finally bought a new truck. It was a 1949 Chevy, red, like fire engine red.
Yeah.
And he used to pile us in, take us to Athol in the back.
Yeah.
He'd make us a bench, and so we tied us down so we wouldn't jump out, and drove.
All the kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had a lot of fun growing up. You know, we have a family that stays together, and I think my mother and father both, although they were never educated, tried to keep the family concept and keep the family close. I mean, we're still close. We still have our reunions. Even with my cousins and my uncles, we were all together. It was always a close-knit family. And I think we had great times. You know, it would be nothing, you know. A lot of guys say, well, what'd you do at night? Well, my brother Bob played the piano or guitar, and we'd have a sing-along. You know, we found things to do. We found baseball games. We found basketball games. You know, we went out and looked and made ourselves these things so we could play these sports, like the ice skating rink. I used to go to Bright Spots, and
now what was Bright Spots?
Bright Spot was on the corner of Vizina Ave and 8th Street, and that was about, well, now right now there's 1, 2, 3, 4 houses that are on it, and that's only half of it. Mr. Levager, Ed Levager, is the one who used to run it. And he would flood it at night, and of course it was such a big area.
It wasn't deep. It was just like.
Oh no! It was just on. It was on a clay thing, and he had boards to stop it from going around. And then he had an ice rink inside of it, and then another area you could skate, free skating. And the area that free skated was maybe 3 times the size of the ice skating rink. And of course, the St. Jean's had a hockey team, St. Joe's. I mean, there was quite a few teams around it. Kids that used to play hockey there, and I used to race there, and I got in competition with the Cogsall, and that was a big deal. And
so
of course,
ice skate,
racing.
Yeah.
I had racing skates, and I didn't have a uniform like everybody else because so my mother made me one. She made me one out of a pair of old winter underwear and dyed it.
Yeah, and that was your.
Dyed it blue, and that was my.
Your speed skating.
Speed skating. When I got into competition, I didn't care what I looked like. You know, I was like the other kids, but not close.
Yeah. You know? And what about skiing? You had said something about. You tried, but how about your brother? And you said you had made do with like an inner tube. Tell us about it. Not kidding. You spent hundreds of dollars today on.
Oh yeah, do they ever?
So
well, we used to have our regular shoes or boots, and we used to take rubber tubing, cut elastics out
from a inner tube.
Inner tube of a tire, and we'd put the skis came with a slit in the middle, so we'd put the tubes through there, and then we'd tie them up. And that's what we used for skiing.
Those were the skis.
Tie it so the skis wouldn't fall off.
Yeah.
But my brother is going to be 80 in June, and he still skis, and he still plays tennis. I mean, he's quite an athlete, and he's in pretty good shape.
And I know, is Dick is your brother too?
Yeah.
Dick still skis.
Yeah, he's, I think he's going to be 70 this year, and he still skis.
Oh yeah, because I see him and Lou, his wife Lou, at dine every once in a while, and he still skis up Wachusett.
Oh yeah,
so.
oh yeah, he goes all over.
Yeah, yeah.
And they don't take their time. My brother Gene, if he goes skiing, he goes up as fast as he can, up and down. I mean, he still flies.
Yeah.
I mean, he's crazy.
But,
You know,
80 years old and still skiing.
oh yeah.
Well, that's good attitude.
I mean, I tried putting on skates this year, and I couldn't skate. Of course, I got in a truck accident, and I hurt my knees, so I can't skate anymore. But I did up to a few years ago. I played hockey till I was 60.
Wow.
You know, I played in the Old Timers League, and then we used to go to Winchendon. We used to play at Bright Spots. We used to play at St. Joseph's.
Now, Bright Spots, mention that again. They used to charge admission to get.
Oh yeah,
right?
10 cents.
So 10 cents, a lot of money back then. How did you afford that?
Well, we helped scrape the ice and flood them, and we'd help when the snow came. We shoveled it. We didn't have snow plows. You had these snowshoes that you pushed. Then you'd have to scrape it again. I mean, it was quite a lot of work. You know? And but we skate for free.
Yeah. And it's interesting how the families in those days, how they managed to entertain themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They were close-knit, and they're still a close-knit families. But today, a lot of the younger people, everything is so organized today.
Oh yeah, everything is done.
Is done. And,
I mean, there's no more bullwork to do. I mean, all there is left now is to get the organization going.
Yeah.
And start something, because the facilities are all there.
Yeah.
And
you don't need a lot of things to entertain. You really don't need those things. You make do with what's necessary, but it's a society is.
I mean,
we're affluent today. We're an affluent society.
Oh yeah, we're not like the old.
No, and sometimes affluence isn't necessarily a good thing. You don't want poverty, but sometimes you go the other direction.
I'll put it this way: the way I see kids dressed today, and you know, I just can't believe the society the way it's going. I mean, some of these kids look like bum.
Yeah.
I mean, rings in their nose, rings in their... I mean, if I saw my son come home, like, oh my God, I would have yanked the ring right off.
Well, the kids are good. The kids basically say they're good, but I mean, society has changed. The kids are still good.
I mean, it's something that we have to get used to.
Right, but our culture has, you know, I think we're it's kind of nice to be kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I think we're getting closer to them, though. I mean, a lot of things I let go today that I would never.
But kids are still good kids. What other technological advances, conveniences, and so on, Vern, have you witnessed in your life? You know, you saw the era before television. Now we have television as just a part of our life. What about other things?
Well, like I say, I went in the Navy, and that today Navy.
Now, what years were you in the Navy?
I went in 1949 to 52.
So after World War II.
Yeah, I was still rated as a World War II veteran, because the fact that the United States was still occupied in Germany and Japan, and they never completed the war in Europe or Asia till 1956. So anyone who went in the service, they could have been the Korean War, which I was part of, but we're still ranked World War II veterans, which we're still at war.
Yeah, technically, officially.
You know, so the United States just did that till 1956.
So you must have seen big changes from when you came back. When you left Leominster, then you went in the Navy, and then you came back. I
can't believe downtown. I mean, when downtown merchants were saying, you know, they're losing business because of the Sears town, you know. Well, downtown owners never met competition. You know, the only way you beat competition is to join them. Believe it or not, you know, if they would have stayed open till 10 o'clock at night, free parking, you know, things like this. Even today, you got parking meters. You know, I mean, for what? How much money does it bring into the city? It would have saved downtown if you didn't have those things. And they met the hours. It met the prices down there. They had to meet competition, and they wanted to make a bigger profit. And I think this is what happened downtown, as far as I'm concerned. And 3rd Street. 3rd Street, of course, 3rd Street, once half of it was gone, you know, it died right out.
Yeah.
That didn't last long, I mean. But I remember going to get my shoes at Nimes that were on 3rd Street, and my mother would charge it. It cost 25 cents for my sneakers.
For sneakers, for sure.
And $1.50 for a good pair of shoes.
Yeah, how times have changed. Talking about school, where did you?
I went to of course, St. Cecilia's.
Yeah.
And then I went to St. Bernard's.
St. Cecilia's up from grade
Elementary
school right up through ninth grade. Ninth grade.
Yeah. And then I went to St. Bernard's for
high school.
Yeah.
So St. Cecilia's, they didn't end at 8th. They also had a eighth grade.
And then I went to the 9th grade.
9th grade at St. Bernard's.
In fact, I stayed at the St. Bernard's where the chicken coops.
Yes,
used to call the chicken
yes. My cousin Carol, when she went there, and the chicken coops were the portable classrooms to the side,
That's what we used
because
to.
they needed space. That must have been before they put the addition on the other.
Oh yeah, they took that all down and put a big addition on it. So much change there.
Oh yeah.
Funny. I mean, my daughter, I got one of my daughters that graduated from there, and she liked St. Bernard's. My other kids all went to Leominster High, but she went to St. Bernard's, just like me. But
good school, Leominster High, fine school. St. Bernard's, fine school.
I think I got a better education. The only thing I think at St. Bernard's, I would like to come to Leominster High rather than St. Bernard's, only for the fact that if you went to Leominster High, you had physical attraction during the
physical education. Yeah.
Physical education, where you could learn basketball, you could learn softball, you could learn baseball.
Yeah.
At St. Bernard's, they didn't have that.
Right.
You know, and I mean, we were limited because we didn't have the area.
Right.
But I didn't know they owned the land where they put up a lower school, and they had the football field. They always owned that land when we were there. But they wouldn't build anything at that time.
At that time. Now they have a big facility, athletic facility.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vern, what changes have you observed in the ways the citizens of Leominster make a living? Do you recall any major manufacturing concerns that are no longer here? There have been, I know there are a lot of changes, so many.
There's a lot of them, like Foster Grants are gone. I mean, it's still part of Foster Grants. It's a, I forget what you call it.
Foster Tech.
Foster Tech.
Yeah.
They're still here, and in fact, I have my wife's pension that comes from Foster Grants. My wife worked at Foster Grants while the kids were in school, and she worked at what they call a school shift. She'd go in for 9 o'clock and come home by 2. So before the kids got home, she was home, and I still have her pension since she passed away. And but I think today it's so much easier to find a job and work. I mean, of course, nobody wants to do anything today. The guy who wants to do the physical work like me, I can find a job anywhere. I was working until last year. I would still be working at the International Golf Course for the last 9 years. I've been working there. I was all do physical work, and I enjoyed it. You know, I mean, I walk 5 miles a day cutting greens. If they want some stairs to build or walls, I do that. And I do whatever they told me to do, I do it. And I really enjoyed it. And these jobs are easy to find. But the easy ones are not. The easy work is not. But when you're using your mind, I think you're working as hard as the guy that's using it. When you come home, your mind is tired, your head is tired, and it takes a while to get rid of the stress that you had during the day. And a teacher, to me, I don't know how they do it. I mean, you know, it is an easy job. I know you were a teacher, I think.
For a long time, yeah.
And to put up with kids and the noise and I mean,
well,
me, I was more of a strict. You know, even when I had a little league baseball team, the kids were small. I drilled them just like a drill sergeant would, and that's why we were champions.
Yeah.
I mean, we won. While I was down there, when I was managing, 4 years, 3 years, I won the league championship, and we went on to win the districts those years because I drilled them and I showed them fundamentals. That's the main thing. And I drilled them, but I found that harder work than doing the rake in the fields or mowing the fields, you know what I'm saying?
But I'll bet it was very rewarding because
I think so.
Working with kids, that's the best part of teaching, really, from my point of view. And I'm sure that you worked with kids in recreation for years.
Every
it's
time,
very rewarding.
You feel why it's rewarding. I mean, I see kids today, they'll say, "Hi, Mr. Brito." Yeah. And I don't know who they are because I haven't seen them
so many years. Yeah.
From a kid. And here's a kid with a beard, a bald head, and he says to me, "Hi, Mr. Brito, you know who I am?"
Yeah, that's one of them.
You know, and that's the only bad feature that you lose. But through the years, I remember Milt Morin. He played St. Cecilia's basketball for me. In fact, he didn't make the team, and so Father Belanger came to me. He said, "Look, friend, I got an extra uniform. Put this kid on the team," because he was so awkward. He grew so big, so fast. By the end of the year, he was one of the best basketball players I had. And look where he ended up going. And I think this is what makes you feel good. Yeah. I don't know how many kids that got scholarships through sports, through baseball. Pop Warner, I got involved with Pop Warner for a while. You know, kids got involved and they got an education from. I have my own son, my youngest son. He got an education from baseball. He was an excellent ball player, and he went to Florida and he played down in Florida. So, you know, it's been rewarding throughout the years. Somebody said, "What do you do it for?" Because something I never had when I was a kid.
That's right, and you're giving back to the community.
Trying to give something that I didn't have. And you know, I love sports. I mean, I would have stayed in school for 100 years if I could have played sports in school.
Just for the LATV audience, for the benefit of people who aren't familiar with the town, Milt Morin, that awkward kid became he was, I think, the first draft choice in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns, and he was a professional football player and a great guy. And
10 years. In fact, he has a place down to Cape. It's a little business. I think it's called the Black Dog. And he also, every time he came visit his father, he used to come see me, and he always called me coach.
Yeah.
And I think that made me feel good. Here's a guy who was a professional football player, and because I helped him when he was a kid,
he appreciated it.
He appreciated it. Never forgot it. And there's quite a few around like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I say Milt because he was the most famous of them all.
But I'm sure there were many that you contributed to their.
In fact, Steve Santucci saw me the other day. Well, he said, "You can work on
excellent baseball player."
Yeah, he said to me, he says, "If you can't go back to work," he said, "I got a job for you." So, you know, he's in his business. I said, "What do you want me to do?" He said, "Keep those kids in line like you used to keep me." So, and he was a great ball player.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
And, you know, the Santucci family, there was a lot of boys there.
Yeah.
You know, I really enjoyed them all. All the boys, they went through Little League system, and of course their mother and father were both good Little League helpers. Yeah. They did a lot of work at 12th Street, you know, concession stand, raising money. And we had the States there one year, and we made $17,000.
Wow.
In those days, that was big money.
Yes, it was. It's a tidy sum today, too.
Oh, yeah.
In like the downtown area, Vern, in manufacturing, you mentioned companies that are not here. Foster Grant, major employer in Leominster, DuPont,
Commonwealth
Plastics. And that isn't just Leominster. It's so typical.
Harvey's,
Guy P. Harvey's. the shirt shops,
Yeah, the shirt shops are going Fluid Peabody.
Manufacturing, not just in Leominster. This is a national thing.
Yeah, right.
There aren't too many things really compared to before made in the United States.
I know.
In
90%
2006, it's made overseas.
Yeah.
It's a global economy now. It's,
Yeah.
it's
Now,
really a
now the
global
economy has to come global because they're making it a lot cheaper. In the United States, here, the wages are, you know, when I went to work, I think I made $26 a week.
And that
Take home pay.
Take home pay, and you could raise a family on that, and it was
I used to pay my rent, buy my food, and still put $10 in the bank.
in the bank. $26 a week now for
26. My wife worked at that time when we first got married, and we were saving all her pay. We never used her pay.
and so now that's an amazing.
That's the difference of today.
The difference.
The dollar went a lot further.
It certainly did.
And you know, I see prices of gas, $2.37 this morning, or $2.39. Of course, up in Canada, they've been paying that for years.
Yes,
you know, I mean, they've been over $4 and $5 a gallon now. And because I go visit Canada a lot, I like to go where my father, I go visit my aunt that's still there. I got a few cousins still left up in Tracadie and San Isidro and in that area, you know. So.
And that's from my recollection, that's a very picturesque, beautiful area.
Oh yeah, Tracadie, actually, Caracat is a beautiful, beautiful old town, and it's got the old village about 2 miles from there called Le Village des Acadiens, and that tells you all the story about Canada, the Cabot Trail and all that. It goes way back in history. Yeah. All pictures, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I visited that quite a few times. I know it by heart. I go there because I want their dry fish they have there.
Is that a joke? The dry fish?
No, it is a dry fish. They take the fish and dry it.
Yeah, but that's not the same stuff that you said you don't want to look at anymore.
Oh, salt herring.
So, you don't want that anymore.
No, I never liked salt herring. But this, I tasted about 10 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. And since then, every time I went back up there, I made sure I got fried fish. Dried fish. Yeah, they dry it right in front of you.
Yeah. On the I think when I remember when I went up there, I think that's one of the things that I remember seeing, some of the racks and drying fish outside. That was something that kind of stuck in my mind.
And a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is add water to it, and it comes back. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Vern, nearing the end of our interview, and this is a hard question, it's always a hard question, what's a couple of the fondest memories
that I've had?
That you had of growing up in Leominster?
Number one, I think enjoying my family. I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the people that I was surrounded with. There was no wise kids. I mean, we were all good kids. I mean, we did some pranky things and stuff like that. But growing up, I think, to me, the hard way, the way I was brought up, with a big family, it was fun. My mother and father made it fun. They made us pray every night. We said the beads at 6 o'clock. Yeah,
religion was a very, very important part, and so important.
My mother used to say, families who pray together stay together.
And that is absolutely true.
You know, and she's not wrong, because my family is still together.
Yeah.
You know, and my brothers and sisters, if we see one another, we stop and talk. We always have something to say to one another. And it's coming from my folks. You know, the old Brito tradition, even before my father, his father was the same way with his brothers.
Yeah.
So, and he came from a family of 24.
24.
He had 3 wives. My grandfather had 3 wives. And he wasn't a big man. He was about your size. And he was strong. Oh.
Yeah. And his wives would, he passed away, and then he remarried because he
married, didn't get more kids.
More kids, so yeah.
He never adopted them. I don't think he's. But
and that is one. Not only one of the big changes today, the typical, and not just in the United States, but in in Europe too. The family unit of some cultures is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's below the replacement level.
Well,
some countries
let's put it this way. I come from a family of 12. There's 31 grandchildren my mother and father had. She came from but I had 6 kids, half of what my father had, 3 and 3, and I got 10 grandchildren, 5 boys, 5 girls, and I got 1 great-grandson.
Wow.
So, you know, you know, and I think bringing up the family that I did and the family I come from, we might have not had TV. We might have never had a lot of things.
You were rich in the important things.
We were rich
in the important
pride
things.
and in style.
Right, and in the things that really mattered.
We were rich in that stuff. So, you know, I always felt that I'd like to go back there and do it all over again if I had to. You know, but I had my chance.
Well, you're still doing excellently.
Well,
Vern, that warmth and that family love and closeness comes through, and you have contributed so much to Leominster. Just before we complete, anything else you'd like to say before we conclude this interview?
Well, no, I think I've said enough.
It's very, very good.
Like I said, I enjoyed life. I loved living on French Hill. I only moved out about 1993 when I left French Hill. I sold my house and I left it, and I think that was one of my mistakes, that I left French Hill.
Yeah.
You know, I really love French Hill.
Yeah,
it was part of you know, even I drive by my mother's house and my house, even today, you know, I go by and my kid brother still lives next door where I lived, so I wave to him. My sister lives in my father's house. They own it now, and you know,
and your father built that house, right?
Oh yeah, he started in 1931. Well, they moved in 1931, and I remember we had an outhouse.
Yeah,
because
an outhouse, not indoor plumbing.
Oh no.
Okay.
I remember when the plumbers came in and did the plumbing, and for a long time we used to go to the bed at night. I remember this is that the house. The boards, you know, that didn't match, you could see the outside, and the snow would come in the wintertime. And they get cold because we had one central heater downstairs.
Yeah.
Heat came up, but many a nights my mother would put the hot irons in into the bed so it would be warm.
Yeah.
And
I believe it or not, and it's true though. I remember I grew up on Central Street. And I was there for 43 years. My parents passed away, and I still stayed at the apartment, and that was my home, and I loved it. But I remember as a little kid, I thought that was a big deal because there wasn't central heating.
No.
And I remember she used to put a brick or something in the oven, and then at night, and then you'd warm the bed.
Yeah.
You know, like a bed warmer type thing. Oh yeah, so
you know,
things have changed.
Things have changed. Like I used to watch my mother bake bread, and with a wood stove, and keep the heat, whether it was summer or winter time, keep the heat even so that bread would come up, and she made the best bread in town, as far as I was concerned.
And I'm thinking now that's right, because in the winter when you had the wood stove, well, for heat and so on, but in baking, but in the summer you'd have to fire up the stove to bake.
Oh,
I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember her when the stove was going on, and she'd make her bread, and we'd take an iron, and you know, of course she used to cut it about an inch thick, and then we'd take an iron and rub it down, you know, and flip it over and press it down. It come about this. Oh, that was excellent toast. Just like the Italian bread today. You know, you have Italian toast on the grill.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
But I mean,
home cooking.
Oh, home cooking.
Well, Vern, I want to thank you very, very much for a wonderful interview, and your warmth and your humanity and personality came through. Which very, very good. It's a compliment to you.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to thank, as always, I want to thank the folks here at LATV, Kyle Pimarini, Jack Selly, Kevin Morin, Dennis Cormier, and as always, the LATV viewing audience. Thank you very much for tuning in to Neighborhood Snapshot.